Welcome back to Gearwire.com. My name is Bill Holland, and we are looking at the BCR2000 B-Control Rotary from Behringer. I got turned on to this from Daft Punk's live performance rig. They actually were using this in conjunction with Ableton Live and their mini Moogs, and kind of just controlling everything through that. I'm not sure exactly what their workflow was with that. I think this was mainly as their master control for Ableton Live. They had two laptops synced with two of these side by side. Now the advantage to this is that unlike the BCF, you don't have to deal with the faders, which faders sound like they would be a really nice thing to have on a control surface. However, in the tradition of Behringer sound mixers, the faders tend to break very easily. They're all automated, which having automated parts in a piece of equipment this cheap is just not a good idea. And it's mainly because of the cost effectiveness of it. In order to have sliders that are automated that work well, you really can't have a surface that costs this little. It's just impossible to do. But given that, Behringer has produced a rotary controller that is pretty awesome. These knobs are absolutely amazing. Never any problems with them. One of the really cool things they just offered in their new editing software, the BCR Edit software, is you can actually set the value of these. So right now you can see I have 20 values, I think maybe 18, but each of these counts for maybe 10 to 20 steps. You can take that down and up. So you could make it actually only go up to maybe 50 on a velocity control, for example, and that way you'd have much finer tuned control. It can also you can slow down how fast these turn, so you get a really nice, if you're doing fine tuning or anything, it's great for that. Well, anyway, let's look at how I use this with Ableton. I use this as my DJ controller. The computer I'm using right now is not my normal DJ computer. This is the work computer, so it will not be the same setup I use, but I'm going to show you how I set up a live DJ/PA setup for when I play out. What I have here is I have just some tracks loaded in Ableton Live. See, I have them here, and I want to set it up so that I control these live using the crossfader as well. So if you look here, there's X in Ableton. You hit that. Brings up your crossfader selection. I have A and B here, so I can put one on each side of the crossfader. I'll show you what that looks like real quick here. So if you have a virtual crossfader, I can go into MIDI. Stop this for a second. I can go into my MIDI controls. Now what I'm going to do is select this and just turn whatever I want to use for my crossfader. In this case, it kind of stinks because I have these knobs, but I'm just going to assign that knob. You'll see it pops up as 104. And I'm just going to hit Control M again. And now I should be able to control my crossfader. There we go. So let's play this back again. Now, the way I would normally do this in a live setting is not necessarily use this crossfader. What I would do is use an audio interface and send my A's over to 1 and my B's over to 2. But you'll notice this sends a mono signal, so I really don't want to do that right now. Normally, what I'll have is an interface, and I'll set this to 1, 2, and my B side to 3, 4, and that will export 2 stereo signals, one to my left-hand channel of the DJ mixer and one to my right. Now what I also have set up here is I've set these to be mute keys. So you can see mute on off, play it back over it. Pretty easy. This does default to the Mackie Universal Control, so one thing to look out for is when you first hook this up, it's going to default these controls to be record arms, which is great for when you're using this as a recording interface, but for DJing, you really want these as mutes because you're not really going to be doing any recording unless you're doing live looping, which sometimes I'll do, but in that case I can set other controls. Keep in mind too, you have P1 through 4 up here. This sets 4 different sets of encoders. Right now I have one as my beat repeater and one as my filter. I'll get to that in the next demo. But for now, this is my setup. I have value sliders here, my mutes here. I'd like to set up these either as returns or EQs. To show you the difference, I'll set up this as a return. You'll see A and B are already set up here. And then I want these to be my EQ. What I can do is select track 2, go grab a 3-band EQ, because it's DJing, you don't really need 8 bands. You might. I don't know what you're doing specifically, but in this case, you're not going to need them. Hit Control M. I'm just going to put my low here, my high here. Sometimes you might want to put your mid instead of your high. I don't know. Just depends on your style of DJing. You could also put 3 controls, but in this situation, I mean, I don't really need that. However, you could theoretically put your tracks here, your sends here, have like 4 tracks, and then put all your EQs over here, or have a master EQ. Sometimes I'll just do a master EQ with an auto filter. It just depends on what I'm DJing and how I'm going to have to use this. So now I play this back. Unmute. And then I can... Keep in mind, too, they have kill switches in the EQ, so if all you want to do is have kill switches, you could also set up some buttons to do that. Notice that each of these 4 have button controls as well as the knobs. So what I could do as well is have an EQ section here and just have these be my kills. So if I go to Control M again, I can have my first track kill, or since this is my second track, I'll have these 2 be my bass and my mid. I can go, okay, I want my low cut here, high kill there. And I can hit Control M again, play back, go farther into the track. And then you can combine it with the knobs as well. You can bring the high back in. Well, that's the basics of how to get your DJ set up. In the next video, I'm going to take a look at adding effects, a beat repeater, an auto filter, and also setting up your sends and returns. But for now, I'm Bill Holland, and this is the BCR2000 from Behringer on Gearwire.com.